forget to record. So, and by 5:05, we can get into it. All right. All right, Abiodun, could you please help me admit new participants that are joining the call?
Yes.
Please, thank you. Hi, Florence. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, everyone.
How are you today?
Very well, thank you.
Good to know. We've been literally waiting for everybody to join the call, so we start at 5:05. So I think we have 1 minute to go. But in that time, could you please introduce yourself? I've met Abiodun Chisom. Chisom is on leave. She's in Lagos and she's enjoying a day so far. Vedaste is from Rwanda. Abiodun is from Abuja. Is joining from Abuja, Nigeria. So could you please tell us where you're joining from? Could you please tell us where you're joining from and what you do?
All right. My name is Florence Akombi. I am joining from Lagos, Nigeria, and I'm a product designer.
Ah, Florence, nice. What industry are you in?
Presently, a design studio. So there's no particular industry, but one of the accounts I work with is a fintech. So
nice. Nice. That's good to hear. I've not asked Chisom and Vedaste where they are joining from. Oh, sorry, what industry they are working in.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So I said my name is Vedaste, and mainly in the North Province.
Vedaste, your audio is a bit, far off from the mic. Can you move closer to your mic?
Can you hear me?
Yes, that's better.
Okay, fine. So I am from Rwanda, especially in North Province.
Okay.
So currently I work in IT industry.
Nice.
So I am webmaster at one of the private university here in Rwanda.
Nice. Okay.
Which is based in North Province.
Okay.
So I have joined you so that we can share and gain some skills.
Nice. Yeah. I'm happy to hear that. And I'm hoping that you would it will be worth your time. It will be value for your time this evening.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it will be.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And I'm going to start presenting soon. And thankfully we're recording, which means that we can, we have been nice enough. Any other person that joins after now would necessarily need to watch the recording or catch up with the recording. While we're gisting, Jadida also joined the call. Hi, Jadida. Good evening. How are you today? Mic check. Can you hear me, Jadida? Okay. Perhaps you're in a place where you cannot speak. I'm just going to assume that for you. All right. So let's get to it. And let me know once you can see my screen so that let me know once you can see my screen so I know what together. Can you see my screen, guys?
Yes, we can see your screen.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for that, Vedaste and Abiodun. Right. So today we want to talk about data-driven decision making for product professionals. And typically, I like to take the pulse of people in class to ask things like, oh, when you hear things around data-driven decision making or analytics when it comes to product management, what typically comes to your mind or what comes top of mind for you? Anybody wants to try? Anybody?
Data-driven decision making for me means using data
Okay.
to make your decisions. You're not just making decisions based on feelings or hunches, but you're looking at the hard facts that you have and using that to make
To make
decisions concerning
decisions.
the products.
Fantastic. You're very correct, Abiodun. Of course, you're not doing guesswork, whether, or you're not just basically thinking or feeling or using your intuition. Although, yeah, maybe at some point there is a place for intuition, but that shouldn't be your first go-to, right? So you're totally correct. And so basically that's what product analytics is about. From time immemorial, or the basics of product management generally is to be able to solve problems, provide solutions to problems for our users. Users can come in any form. Your users can be internal stakeholders, maybe your customer success team, or maybe your customer success team, your audit and compliance team. They can be anybody. So how do you make life better for them? How do you solve problems for them? And how do you solve that problem from a data-driven perspective? And going with data-driven approach is very important, or it's very critical, because you also don't want wasted efforts in guesswork. You don't want to waste effort, human resource. And we all know that human needs or human resources rather are limited. So you really want to allocate it judiciously, or you want to allocate it in a prudent manner to things that matter. And that's where making data-driven decisions is very, very important, or it's a very helpful. So today we're going to be looking at what that means, and how it can help you drive decisions forward. So I'm just going to, this is a brief agenda of what we're going to talk about today. Why product analytics, data sources, how do you get data? Because trust me, today, some product professionals do not even understand where and how they can collect data. And as much as possible, I'll try to make this class interactive so that we can rub minds together, right? Thankfully, Florence is on the call. She's a product designer. If we are hearing in any perspective or in any matter, she's going to call us back. Am I correct, Florence?
I'll try my best.
All right, thank you. I'm happy that we have a mix of product professional on the call. So yes, this is an high level agenda of what we're going to be talking about today. Why product analytics? What are your data sources? Or how can you collect data? Types of product data. How do you make data-driven decisions? And again, the last one, which I believe is the most important one, is whatever hard work of data gathering, analyzing, and all of that you might have done, how do you use that to influence your stakeholders? Your stakeholders could even be stakeholders at the top, or stakeholders below, or stakeholders parallel or within, around you. So yes, this is a high-level agenda of what we're going to be talking about today for the next 1 hour thereabouts. So I'm just going to talk briefly about me, who I am and what I do. I wear many hats. I believe that I wear many hats for time, depending on the situation I find myself. To some people, I'm a data analyst. They would be correct. To other people, I'm a product manager. Whichever place you hear my name, or wherever client you find me, I could be acting as a product manager, and at the same time, I could act as a data analyst. So just take me as I am. And I believe that some of us have this multi-skills also, if not almost everybody. Of course, you would probably have more strength in one than the other. So yes, that is who I am. I'm comfortable with both. My professional experience spanned a 12-year postgraduate record across banking, digital payments, that is fintech, and consulting. Currently, I lead the Techlytics team, and I have amazing team members. Some of them are on this call with me. I have amazing team members. I work with Abiodun, Adenike, Oreolua, Jedida, Timothy, and Glory. So these are all the wonderful and extremely professionals that I work with or the team at Techlytics. So there is this fact that I want to bring to our attention. It was basically it was basically drawn by McKinsey Global Institute. That is, companies that rely on data are 23 times more likely to gain more customers, have a sixfold higher likelihood of customer retention, and have a 19 times greater chance of being profitable. Let's take it one after the other. They companies that rely on data are 23 times more likely to gain more customers. So if you're the kind of company that you rely on data so much, your product data or market data, whatsoever data it is, right? You're more like 23 times more likely to gain customers as against doing guesswork up and down, right? You also have a sixfold higher likelihood of customer retention. When they say sixfold, that's like 600%. Because I know when they say 100-fold is 100%. So you have a sixfold or 6x. Let me not just exaggerate. So 6x higher likelihood of customer retention, and have 19 times greater chance of being profitable. And we're going to talk about some of these companies that have leveraged data in the past that they currently even use it on you and I. And before we know it, we've bought more things from them. We've given them more of our money, and they are gaining more market share, whether we're in wherever market they are in. And that's because they've been able to read us, right? They understand consumer preferences, they understand consumer behaviors, right? And it will do you harm if you're a product professional or an aspiring product professional, if you do not pay attention to what the data is telling you. Okay, so let's quickly go into it and let's ask ourselves, why product analytics, or why do you need to leverage data? Right, it's we've probably heard it all over. So people will say, oh, we're a data-driven company. We're building a data-driven culture. We are building this, we're building that. In fact, me, myself, I think I've used this while I was introducing myself. I've said things like, oh, I'm a data-driven product manager. You hear some other people saying, oh, they're a data-driven growth marketer. They're a data-driven company. They're a data-driven designer. While some designers argue that it's none of their business. Well, we're going to get to that later today. Florence, do you think it's your business to understand data when it comes to understand product data when it comes to product development?
Absolutely, because it helps you build from the perspective of the user. The product you're building is not for you, it's for the user. And if you don't understand their needs, their pain points, how do you then build something that is relevant to them? So yeah, absolutely.
I totally agree with you. You're spot on, Florence, and thank you so much. Maybe we are going to be co-facilitating this class together, because don't mind me, and I didn't mean to put you on the spot. All right, thank you so much for that fantastic input. Right, so a data-driven culture is very important, and it's typically a guide, and it's very instrumental in every stage of product development process. I want to believe that people on this call are either aspiring product professional or you're an existing product professional. Whichever way, let us have a quick talk about it. What are the stages of product development process that you know? Let's talk about it, and let's now look at how data points in all of them. Anybody wants to try, or anybody wants to go? What are the stages of product development process? Anybody? Anybody
Ideation.
Okay, ideation.
Conception. What are the next ones?
Okay, let's take ideation. How does data influence your ideating process? Do you want to try? Okay, anybody wants to try? How does data influence your product ideation process? Anybody? It's totally okay if there's nobody, not to put anybody on the spot, right? So we're trying to say that product analytics touches everywhere. So you have conceived an idea to say, so let's say you have conceived an idea for maybe you want to start selling online, and you're trying to sell online. The idea is fantastic. The idea is, somebody's hand is up. Jadida, is that you? Okay, let's hear it. Go for it.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
Sorry that I couldn't speak earlier. I was in motion, but I'm settled now. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that I agree with you that data touches every stage of development, and I think that the key role it plays in the stage of ideation is that data helps you validate your idea. So if
Correct.
you want something and you're not quite sure, because ideas can be very broad, right? And that's where the whole concept of MVP comes in. You want to know where to start from. What do people need the most in this idea, this broad idea that I have? You then start user research and start collecting data from people, and it is this data that allows you to know where to start from, what to do, and if the idea even makes sense in the first place.
Nice. Thank you so much, Jadida. That was spot on, because it's a dangerous place to be in once you have an idea and you start implementing that idea. At the end of the day, you might find out that you have wasted time, money, and every other person's time, right? In my early days, when I started out in product management, there are some stories that and again, this is sidebar, there are some stories that I look back these days and I'm like, I'm thankful for going through that, because I'm thankful for failure, because typically those products failed, and there were two of them. And you can imagine putting all your soul, all your blood and sweat into a product, and because you were working blindly, not like you were working blindly, well, partially you were working blindly, and at the same time, I didn't have enough confidence. I mean, that was even pre-COVID or before this tech bloom and all of that. I didn't have enough guidance, or there were not enough resources at the time to guide me to be able to convince my superior, the person I was reporting to at the time, to say, yeah, hey, this is what the data is saying. This is how I believe we should go. If we go this way, we're going to 10x our returns. But if we go this other way, we're going to end up in losses, or we're going to have to do more. And I didn't know how to do all of that. But unfortunately, those products fail. So, but as we go along, we see that competition is now, technology is now almost influencing everything. Competition is harder. Competition is almost everywhere. It's more like a red ocean right now. You really cannot afford to experiment. Not to say you cannot fail. Don't get me wrong, you can fail, but there are some failures that are unnecessary, especially when they are avoidable. So in my case, I've worked on two products that have failed. A fintech product and a gig tech product. Gig tech being like a freelancing platform. So yes, am I proud? Well, maybe I'm not so proud of the failure, but did I learn my lessons? Oh yes, I did. So not everybody or not every company have the capacity the bandwidth, the resources to wither or to chest failure like that. So thank you so much for that contribution, Jadida. So yes, that is why product analytics is important. Whether you are an aspiring product manager, a current practicing product manager, whether you want to become a consultant in the near future, whatever it is, data and analytics is very important for you. So let's talk about data sources. So how do product professionals get their data? Numerous, but let's quickly look at this 4 ones. Customer feedback. So there are times, maybe your bank application, they basically come back to you to say, oh, give us feedback. How was your service, or how is our service to you today? Or what can we do to make it better? Or you just finished the transaction on your mobile app and they're asking you to rate them. trust me, the products team are indirectly collecting feedback. Even the time you don't press that button or you don't even rate them at all, it's also feedback, right? Whether you give them the rating star 1 or 1 star or 5 star, or you don't even do anything at all, everything is feedback. So those are your data sources. Customer feedback, user behavior data. User behavior data is large because user behavior, we users, we can really be complex, right? And there are some frameworks, or there are some concepts that have been put together. We won't be able to go into some detailed concepts in this class today, but user behavior is another big deal on its own. So user behavior data is also a data source. User behavior data naturally could mean, oh, how does the user move from, in my product, how does this particular user A move from point A to point F in my product? That's for user A. User D could be, their behavior on the same product could be totally different. And maybe the only distinguishing factor is because of their demographics. User A could be a teenager, user B could be an elderly citizen, or could be somebody in their 60s, right? Their behavior will be different. User A could be somebody who's been influenced a lot by technology, who understands how things work. User B may not be, right? So user behavior data could be very wonderfully, I wouldn't say complex, but it could be very interesting and dynamic. It's not what you observe today that you would observe tomorrow, right? Another data source is market research. Like Jadida mentioned earlier, market research is critical, right? Usually, typically, before I delve into building any product or doing any product strategy at all, I sandwich market research and user research because they go hand in hand. Market research being, what is the market saying? Is this what we should be doing right now? Is there opportunity here? How large is the opportunity? How many players are in this market? Are they already solving these problems? So if they're already solving this problem, so how do I want to distinguish myself? In some cases, there are some products that, yes, people are already solving the problem. In all fairness and in all honesty, maybe you don't even have any unique selling proposition. You just want to join the market and just make the competition stiffer, or maybe just find a way so that we have a perfectly elastic market or perfectly elastic pricing. There are just, so market research just helps you to understand how many opportunities are here, what's my immediate catchment area, what are the low-hanging fruits that I can quickly pull right now, right? These are data, because these things will inform what kinds of features, or what kind of features you want to approach this your new product or your improvements with. Then you now know the features. It also influences what you prioritize per time, right? So market research is also a data source that influences your decision-making process in product development. Performance metrics basically mean maybe post-launch. So what are you monitoring, right? What are you monitoring? What are the KPIs that you've set yourself? Is conversion the thing that is more important for you? So if it is conversion, what are the metrics? Or do you want to measure how people are, if it's a SaaS product, do you want to measure how people are leaving the free trial or the basic trial bucket and they are moving to the paid version? Do you want to measure how people are moving from just downloading your app to signing up, right? Do you want to measure how website guests are being converted from being guests, right, to actual registered users? So these are data sources, and it is numerous, right? And trust me, there are tools here and there to measure these performances. The most common one you probably heard of is Google Analytics. Excuse me. The most common one you probably heard of is Google Analytics. Then there are other ones you probably heard of: Hotjar, Mixpanel, Amplitude, LogRocket. There are a lot of them. Pendo, Netcore. How many do you want to know? But it is also important that you know what these tools can do for you per time. All right, so excuse me. That is product analysis. Product analytics. That's the importance of product analytics and product development. And these are some of your data sources. So let's talk about types of data. You probably have heard of them before. We have qualitative data and quantitative data. So let's quickly talk about qualitative data. This is the one I love most. I love the quantitative part of things too, but that's because qualitative just is a beautiful, it's just like a blend of spectrum of colors. All right, it provides depth and context, and it plays a role in understanding your why. All right, why is this user behaving this way? Why does this user prefer this? That is qualitative data. That is qualitative data. And basically, it offers qualitative data basically is descriptive and it is subjective. That is, the reason user A is behaving or prefers something is different from why user B prefers the other. So you may not be able to form a round opinion about, because it's actually subjective, it's relative. It's valuable in generating new product ideas, all right? Especially when you're doing things like market research and you're collecting feedback, or you're trying to understand how frustrating a problem is. Let me quickly give you an example of qualitative data, or how you're let me give you an example of qualitative data. So sometimes last year we were working on a project for a client, and by the way, the product will be out soon. If you have some time, you can check it out and join the wait list. It's palette.ai, and it's a content is a content creation tool, content creation and marketing performance tool for business owners who wants to create marketing content using artificial intelligence. Much beyond creating those content, they also want to be able to see how that content is performing in their social media or in their marketing endeavors. So we wanted to build that product, and we were just worried that there are other tools that are already doing this. So we knew Canva was doing something fantastic. At that time, GPT-4 had not even, had not really gone mainstream like this, right? So we were worried about what we were going to do, what we were going to be doing differently, since some tools were already there. But since we weren't so sure, we needed to roll out a market research, and the research basically gave us insights. So we got feedback such as, oh yes, while I use XYZ kind of products, but they are complex to use. I don't even understand. I need to use it like 5 times before I understand, oh, this is what this particular feature or this button does. Or some people are coming from, oh, there are 2 common templates there. Oh, I cannot pay in dollars. So those were more qualitative feedback that we were, basically taking in, which would also help us to better improve, or we will take into the products that we want to build, and we'll be able to deliver something solid for the customers. All right, so that's an example of qualitative data. It's valuable for generating new product ideas, identifying user problems, improving your user experience, and informing product strategy based on customer feedback. So we did those interviews. So it's typically collected through interviews, focus group, open-ended surveys, observations, and user testing. The second type of data, product data, is quantitative data. It is numerical, it is measurable, and it is very objective. So basically, they are just figures, all right? Most times, quantitative data are critical for measuring product success. They are most times, not every time, most times they are post-launch, or that is your product is already live, is already in the market, then you're gathering that data back, all right? So it's crucial for measuring product success, tracking key performance indicators. So for example, let's say you have a KPI for 50% conversions being, and you define your conversion, or maybe a metric that you're using to define that conversion is at least or at least 50 people that sign up in a day, at least 50 of them should upgrade to a paid version. That is a That is a KPI, right? That is you trying to measure. That is trackable, because at the end of the day, you cannot look at, oh, did we meet this target of 50 people? Have 50 people been upgraded from trial version to a paid version? That is a KPI. That is quantitative. You can attach number to it. It is trackable. It is measurable. It is collected through website analytics, app using metrics, surveys with closed-ended questions, A/B testing, and sales data. So that is the difference between quantitative and qualitative product data. Okay, so let's now talk about how you can make data-driven decisions. I have like eight steps, or eight steps, because they are progressive. I have like 8 steps in this slide, and we're going to quickly talk about them. So number 1 is define key metrics. What is important to you? Now, in most organizations, maybe startups that have grown a bit, or if you're in a bigger enterprise, if it is a new startup that has a smaller team, most likely it is probably a 1-man thing, or 2 or 3, 4-man thing. But if you have, let's take, for the purpose of this masterclass, let's take an example of 3, or let's take an example of a company that has, let's take an example of a company that has the product designer, the product manager, the product marketing manager, or then the business team. Then you have the stakeholders, or maybe the decision makers. Let's just take that kind of team scenario. Now, the first thing you want to be able to understand, or the first thing you want to establish as a product professional, is to define key metrics. And what do we mean? So the other time we've been talking about conversion. If conversion is a KPI that makes sense to you, or that the business have defined, or that's the KPI the decision makers in the company, let's say the founder or the CEO, let's say that's the key metric that is important to them. All right, so you have to define it clearly. And typically, key metrics are not endless. At most 5 to 10, but it's only large organizations that will probably do as much as 10 per time. But let's just keep it focused. So define key metrics, collect both quantitative and qualitative data. Thankfully, we've explained what qualitative data is and what quantitative data is. Now, because you really don't want to, probably get to a sync meeting and you're saying no to some. So your business team or your CEO comes up with, your CEO or your boss comes up with, Tayo, we need to add this new feature to the sprint. You really don't want to be that guy, that guy or that girl that says no, everything is just no. You don't want to be that girl that says no all the time. Before you even get to that stage, you want to have probably collected both quantitative and qualitative data, because you'll be able to then support your argument. Qualitative data could just be market research. Your market research basically means, oh, whatever feature it is, you want to tell why you want to refuse it or why you want to add it. It could just be the game changer. It could just be something as good as, oh, you've watched the news and you are seeing the way the regulators are moving. That is, if we implement this now, we're going to be in a tight corner in another 5 months down the line. Then we're going to take it down. I mean, I've been in that situation where we're integrating. I largely worked in fintech organizations, and you sure know that industry is heavily regulated. And we had worked on a particular third-party integration that was really questionable when it comes to data privacy and protection. Are we going to be going against NDPR? Are we going to be going against CBN policy when it comes to KYC? But it was going to make life easier for people anyways, but the regulation says, no, don't do that, right? But in all fairness, that implementation was going to make life easier for you and I, especially when it comes to when you want to open bank accounts and people ask you, and bankers ask you to go and bring your NEPA bill, go and bring this, go and bring that. We were going to implement a fantastic KYC solution that would, probably, make life easier as regards that. But hey, there are regulations here and there, right? So there are things that if we already knew the body language of what the regulators are saying, what markets are saying, again, that's qualitative data, do not forget. You are able to then go to that meeting armed with good enough information to say, madam, or whoever the person that is pushing it, say, oh, we're not able to do this, or can we pen this down for a while? And of course, most decision makers want to give you tasks or requirements that would drive the bottom line, that would increase profits for the company, which is totally fine. Also, you also need to be, because you are also in it for the advantage of the company. So you also want to be able to blend both approaches. So it is very important that you arm yourself with qualitative data and quantitative data. Now you've defined key metrics, you've collected both data types, set up dashboards and reports, and this is very important. It's very funny how, as a product manager, you are expected to have a lot of skills, right? So you need to set up dashboards and reports. In other organizations, they have dedicated teams who are able to do this for them. I mean, dedicated team being maybe your data and intelligence team. So I had worked in a company where, even though as a product manager, you have access to your log rocket, to your mix panel, to your Hotjar and your Google Analytics and your Firebase and all of that, you can be using that. But the stakeholder, the founder or the CEO or the CFO isn't going to be going through 4 different tools. The CFO is not going to be going through 4 different tools to read the data you want to present to them. So it only made sense that there is a one unified view of what they want to see. So it is you that you know that you go and log into Mixpanel, you go and log into Firebase, whatever, but your stakeholder really doesn't care. Just give me maybe just one pager report or one pager dashboard and let me be going. Tell me, what is it? Is it a yes? Is it a no? If it is a yes, why? If it is a no, why? And case closed. So set up dashboards and reports, depending on your skill or depending on the kind of company you find yourself in. Set up that dashboard and report. Typically make it summary and make it one pager. Just dashboard is just supposed to be summary. Then analyze trends and outliers, much more than just putting fantastic sweet charts all over the place. You also want to be able to have done your analysis, right? So I've done your analysis, and to be able to present or to be able to write that analysis maybe somewhere within your DAX report. Okay, what is your insight from here? What is your recommendation from here? Now, the other steps you need is to gather feedback from teams and customers, right? Because you also have internal stakeholders being the people you work with. So for example, for a product designer would typically work with a product manager, work with the user research analyst, depending on what kind of organization. Would also work with the product designer would work with those are maybe their close circle, but a product manager would mostly work with customer success, work with a product designer, work with compliance team, work with operations, work with almost everybody in the company, right? So you will want to gather feedback from teams. So for example, if you're a product manager, you want to gather feedback from your customer success team, because they are your frontline managers, or they are your frontline professionals that take feedback from the field, right? Or if you also have a sales team that go outside physically, they gather market intelligence. There's no kind of data that is useless, all right? That's how to build a data-driven culture. Whatsoever, it could even be your cleaner. It could be your gate man that has more data than you think you do, because there are times you're probably just logged into your system and you're working from morning till night. It could be that cleaner, it could be that driver that would help you. So gather feedback from teams and customers, then test hypotheses with rigorous experiments. Testing hypotheses with rigorous experiments could be something like, so if I was working at Netflix or any other or an e-commerce company. So let's say we rolled out a feature, maybe we rolled out a feature this week, and we now realize that the number of views suddenly increased. So the hypothesis you probably want to form from that is implementation of feature X increases number of views by 50%. That's an hypothesis, right? But is that hypothesis correct? You're not entirely sure, because you cannot be entirely sure that it's the implementation of that feature that drove number of views. What if somebody was just talking about alchemy of souls on Twitter, in Niger Twitter, and everybody's alchemy of souls, okay, I'll watch it. And people just started watching alchemy of souls because an influencer said something somewhere, right? So the number of views might not be correlated. So you want to test that hypothesis, right? Do an A/B testing. So remove this feature, that same feature, go remove it, give it to group 1 or test group 1, put the same feature, give it to test group 2, then see how people interact with it. Maybe in the eventual, maybe there will be no difference. So which basically tells you that it wasn't your implementation of any feature. So test hypothesis rigorously, and of course, you have to document all of this, because somebody somewhere at the top, or even if you are the one at the top, you necessarily need to document this so it can serve as a lesson for other people. And if you're reporting to someone, they would definitely ask questions, right? You don't want to chew your mouth when they ask you those questions. Make changes gradually based on the evidence. All right. Human psychology, we're used to things, and we are others to change. We don't like change. We really don't want to change, right? If I'm used to an airbrush that looks like this, that looks very curvy like this, right? If tomorrow you give me one funny looking airbrush that I cannot grip like this, then something is wrong. I won't even use it. I want my old airbrush back, right? So in most cases, we humans, we don't like change, even though change is a constant thing. So it's better that you introduce changes gradually until we're fully able to embrace it. And trust me, customers love new things. However, the way it's the approach in which you introduce that new things to them that matters. I mean, every September, most Apple lovers or iPhone lovers look forward to the new iPhone, and they cannot sleep because, oh my God, I'm not an iPhone lover, by the way. So yes, which means customers look forward to something new, but just introduce it to them gradually. All right. Continuously learn and improve processes. So continuously learn means that you have established or you have done this research and analysis and implemented and introduced it to your users, blah blah blah. Doesn't mean it's the same process that you will repeat for the next thing you want to do. Doesn't mean it's the same process, hook, line, and sinker, that you want to do the next time. All right. So basically, continuously learn and improve processes. So this is the last bit that we're going to be talking about. How do you then influence your stakeholders? How do you influence your stakeholders? We've talked about it we've basically talked about it from while we were talking. So present data-backed insights persuasively. The key word here is persuasive. Have you been in a meeting where you even have all your data, you have all your receipts, you have all your facts? However, and you present it, they are not listening to you. So the art of persuasion is a full-blown course on its own. You hear some coaches teaching, especially sales coaches, right? Because that's the work. That's where the work is. You also need to be able to tell a story. You also need to be persuasive, because it's not enough for you to have data and you think because you have data, people will just agree. Presentation also matters. And so present your data-backed insights persuasively. Show how the decisions align with business objectives. So if the business objective for that year, it depends on the company you're in. Some companies set their business objectives for the entire year. Some it's a quarterly thing, right? So they can easily measure and adapt and change. But for bigger firms and organizations, they have a full year blown objective. So whatever your decision is, if you're refusing a feature request or you're going another route for a particular thing, you want to tell them why. So you're declining my feature request. I'm the business partner. I'm your business partner, or I'm your business executive, or your business team supporting this product. And I am saying, let's integrate with Okra, let's integrate with one other person, or a particular third party. But each time I come to you, you shun me, or you just don't listen to me, right? If you do not tell me why, if it does not align with why, maybe it doesn't align with business objectives, I'm going to have issues with you, right? And before you know it, you start building a team that has a lot of friction. You're always fighting and you're never getting anything done. So you also, as a product professional, you also want to show how whatever decision you're taking, how it aligns with the business objectives. And finally, use that data to drive consensus and alignment. Driving consensus means you're able to bring everybody together to agree to that one common goal by everybody. So you're good with your product team. You and the product designer, you've agreed, you're good, you've done chop knuckle. You're good with your research team, you're good with your customer success team, you're good with your operations team. It appears like you're good with everybody. However, there is one tiny team that you think is tiny, but in effect, they can cause wahala, they can, destroy everything you've been working hard to build. Let's say it's a compliance team or audit team, and you did not tell them maybe this new feature that you want to tweak or something that you want to tweak. They have the ability to ask you not to go live with that feature. And that is just basically going to put the effort of everybody, is going to put it into shame or into shambles, right? So you also want to drive consensus and alignments. Let everybody be aligned to you. As long as you're doing the right thing, it's in line with your objective. It's going to solve customer problem. It's going to make the company money, or you're going to be aligning with best practices. You're going to be aligning with regulation. You also want to be able to carry or to drive consensus with all the other teams around. So, and that is very important. So yes, that typically brings me to the end of this session. This is because I'm also very conscious of time. So this is where I ask if there is any question, and we can quickly talk about it before we go. Any question, guys? Any questions so far? Yeah, I think I saw oh yes, stakeholder management. Stakeholder management, Delio, thank you. Stakeholder management is very critical and important when it comes to, doing data-driven decision making. It's not enough for you to say, hey, I know what we need to do right now, and this is it, blah, blah, blah. If you're not careful, all your efforts would go down the drain. Of course, nobody prays that their efforts go down the drain, in all fairness and in all honesty. Nobody prays that their effort goes down the drain when it comes to that. However, if care is not taken, it may appear so. So I'm happy to take questions now. Florence, you can unmute your mic. I see that you dropped the comment in the chat room. Yes, presenting to stakeholder is storytelling. Do you want to elaborate on that, Florence? Florence, are you here, or I should just elaborate on my thing by myself? Okay, so storytelling. Remember the other time when we were talking about persuasion? Oh, there's a mouse beside my house and they're praying. Okay, all right, not a problem at all. All right, remember the time when I was talking about persuasion? It's not enough that you have data and you want to probably accept or reject or reject a feature request or a new requirement that somebody has given you. You also need to be persuasive, and that's where storytelling come in, right? Storytelling could even be something you draw insight from other people's experience, or maybe something that has failed in the past, in the same vein. Maybe somebody was just not paying close attention, right? So storytelling can be any of that. So yes, storytelling can be you wanting to draw insights from where it may be you wanting to draw insights from something that has happened in the past and take lessons from it. Storytelling could be you creating a scenario of, this is what we would be missing out if we don't do this, or if we do this, right? So let me create a particular scenario for us. So that there was a time, I think I like telling stories. No matter how put together you think you are as a product manager, one thing that can discourage you, or if you do not pay attention, could be something as simple as consenting to terms and conditions. Or if there's a change in your privacy policy, how do you show that user A or user B consented to this new privacy policy, right? So you may want to use that as a storytelling to say, so maybe that is the next thing for the next sprint that you've even refined, and you want to maybe that thing on your backlog that you want to refine is to improve how you collect or how you store people's user consent when they check the box for privacy or privacy policy or these terms and conditions. You know when you sign up for a product. That could be, maybe that's the next thing. Maybe that's the next thing in your backlog that you want to even take to the next sprint. You refine it with the engineers and all of that. And your CEO comes in and they say, no, what are you people taking to the next sprint? And you tell them all the things, including this one feature or this one improvement. And the guy is like, no, take that one out. We have this big thing that we need to do, blah, 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 we need to do. That happens almost everywhere. So how do you want to tell a story to be able to convince them why that thing that you are saying is also important? All right. So you could look out for other companies that have failed to do that same, or to implement that feature. The feature being, how do we collect user consent to show that they consented to our terms and conditions, or they agreed to this cookie policy, or they agreed to this or that, right? Of course, there are tons of companies that have, and because that consent, that capturing of consent is in line with GDPR, is in line with NDPR in case of Nigeria, but if you're building a global product, it's in line with GDPR. Now, if you're unable to convince your boss that it's regulatory or it's in line with standard practice, it's going to be a tough call. You could even draw the stories of similar companies that failed to do that, and customers, right? And we customers were wonderfully funny. Customers basically sued some companies to court because of that, because they would tell you they read your terms and conditions from A to Z, and something was not there. That thing could even be there, but because you yourself, you are not storing their consent, you're not storing if there's any change. When there's a change, you do not tell them there's a change, and did they reconsent to that new change? You're not storing all of those data points anywhere, right? Then you probably would lose out. You probably would lose out of the case, and you're unable to. You probably would lose out of that case, and you're unable to defend yourself, and that would be so catastrophic. So yes, thank you so much for that insight, Florence. That is also very important. If there are no other questions, I would like to quickly tell us about, we have another masterclass coming up next week. This time around, we'll be talking about how to leverage analytics for product improvement, and we'll be having a guest speaker around. His name is his name is Oluwatayo too. Oluwatayo Alofun. We have worked together back at InterSuite, and he's a great guy. He typically helped me on my analytics skill. He's a data guy, and he's a very fantastic guy also in the marketing space. So we're launching a product analytics course, and the class is starting in March 30th to be precise, and it's a 4-weekend course. We've put so much work into this curriculum. You can check the curriculum out at techlytics.ng/product analytics. It's a robust curriculum, and we also have we've also built a live product, pulse.techlytics.africa. Once you get to once you get to the website here or the landing page here, you'll be able to see the curriculum. You would also be able to see the way we are thinking about teaching product analytics real life to everybody, every product professional out there. You'll be interacting with Pulse. That is, inside Pulse, we've integrated Hotjar, we've integrated Mixpanel, and we have Microsoft Clarity. We're going to be teaching you how to use these tools, how you can draw insight from it, collect data, quantitative data, even qualitative data. It exists on Hotjar, so you can be able to make good sense of your product data. So the course is starting March 30. It's for 4 weekends, and we have an early bird price of 90,000 naira. You can plan for it, but the early bird pricing is closing in March 10, and the full price for the course from that day is from after March 10 rather is 100,000 naira. So please, you could check out product analytics, and please, if product analytics is something you really, really want to expand your knowledge on, it's a good conversation starters, even in interview processes. It's a good conversation starters in a new job. I'm going to share the story of another friend who got a job in the UK and how product analytics saved this young lady. So yes, we're going to talk more next week at the same time next week, where we'll be talking about leveraging analytics for product improvement. If there are any other questions, please let me know. I'm still here. But if there are no other questions, we will be bringing the class to a close shortly. So thank you, everyone. I thought there was a hand, or was that a chat in the chat room? If there are no other questions, thank you, Florence. If there are no other questions, please, I will still be here on the call. And thank you, Abiodun. I can see that you've dropped the link to Pulse. Thank you. Right. Thank you, Jalil. If there are no other questions, expect the replay of the session. Expect it in your email later tonight. Thank you, Florence. Chisom, thank you so much too. This was also a friendly conversation today. Thank you, Florence, for allowing me to pick on you. Right. Yes, please. Thank you. You can join the conversation next week. We would be having another teacher with us on the call. In the same vein, or in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your evening and have a fantastic evening, everyone. Bye. Thank you, Florence. Bye. Bye, Florence. Thank you, Abiodun.
You're welcome, Tara.
So,
I hope I got the link for next week.